This electric bike looks both aggressive and capable. Comes from a new brand with proven to be well-working components, but is this mixture good enough for you? Let's inspect.
Hey everybody, welcome to the channel, nice to meet you, I'm Michael. As usual, some interesting tech to be explored, and this e-bike is from a brand new company coming from Poland, apparently with Chinese roots, and they asked me to try out their best currently, and it's called the Glewer from the company Glewel. And as usual in this episode, our thorough inspection is meant to show you whether all the marketing promises are matching the actual performance. Let's dive into it.
Let me begin with the price tag and the availability. At the time I work on this video, Glewel is only being offered across Europe. The price is quite attractive though. For close to €1,800, you seem to receive quite a lot. In the same price niche, you're going to find mainly China-made electric bikes, and the only meaningful competition coming from Europe are the Rock Rider e-bike series by Decathlon, which are already providing even a mid-drive at a slightly lower budget, so keep this in mind during the review. It's been a while since the last time I had some help during the unboxing. If you can get someone to help you, do it. Saves time and happens to be a lot more fun. Although the box that I've received has apparently been slightly deformed, there have been no issues with the bike itself, so pulling it up, move the box away and start working on the assembly procedures. If you do this for the first time ever, better read the instructions. There's nothing too complicated, but still a few things that are worth paying attention to. First things first, remove all these protective layers, carefully cut the cable ties where necessary. You're gonna need to place the handlebar first, gently remove all the force screws, lay it down and make sure it's going to be well aligned before the final tightening. Next comes the installation of the front tire. You need to remove the transportation parts and carefully align the disc into its position, then align both sides to the corresponding locations on the fork and done. Good news, Glewel provide a quick release mechanism for this one, means that you can remove the front wheel within seconds when you need to. A few more things you have to take care of, like the seat post, the pedals, the front light installation. Checking the tire pressure is almost mandatory. Make sure to complete all these maintenance procedures before actually riding the bike. While it looks like the battery is inbuilt, it's actually detachable. And while you're finishing the procedures, you're gonna notice the pretty nice design and also the fact that the cables go inside the frame. Glewel state that this model is good for people between 160 cm height up to 2 meters and 5 cm, meaning that practically there is one universal size of the frame. If we look closer to the spec sheet, we discover a 250 watt hub motor, 5 grades of pedal assistance, a 562 watt-hour battery, Tektro disc brakes, 27.5-inch Kenda tires, a Sal Royale saddle, Suntour front fork, Shimano Altus shifting system, an LCD smart display and a kickstand. All of that weighs around 24 kilograms.
Very good sounding specs, and this is obviously an all-terrain e-bike which can comfortably bring you even off-roads, and most of the components are easily recognizable. For instance, the motor, that's a rear hub motor, 250 watts coming from Bafang, something really reliable with maximum output torque of around 42 Newton meters. On the front we have a rather good suspension, although not the best in class. It's one of the very few Chinese or Polish e-bikes with a price of sub $2,000 where you can recognize what's on the front. It's not a no-name suspension, luckily. The frame looks as if that's a mid-drive motor equipped. While it's not, but I would say pretty fancy design. And the only weird part is the way how the handlebar feels. It's probably because of the stem, it's a bit too long, but that's one more component that you can easily replace. Now, given all these really good components, I think it's finally time to figure out how these match the actual performance. Let's go.
If you think that rear hub motors are outdated and no longer competitive to mid-drives, I dare you to try this one. If weight distribution is a complaint and you're going to feel nervous about having too much weight focused on the rear end, there's nothing you can do in order to fix this, but from purely riding perspective, the 42 Nm torque out of this 250-watt Bafang model feel great. Each one of the assistant modes provides different level of support, and reaching the top assisted speed of 25 km is easy. Furthermore, it doesn't feel as if the support drops out all of a sudden when you reach the maximum. Electronics here is very good and feels almost as responsive as it is on a motor with a torque sensor. Officially, there is no throttle, but looks like Glewel have left you a back door and you can mount such if you find a compatible one. I'm gonna leave a link to such one in the video description area should you decide to go for some upgrades. Concerning the range, the battery is rather large and is going to support you for up to 85 kilometers, at least if you ride in perfect conditions. In reality, the range is somewhere between 50 and 70 kilometers, and that's quite a good achievement, especially knowing that I was mainly covering off-road terrains during testing, which traditionally require more power. Two more things to note here: you can detach the battery and recharge it while it's entirely out of the bike, and secondly, there's a special sleep mode which kicks in after 2 hours of inactivity. In order to wake the bike up, you're gonna need to press the power button on the battery for 5 seconds, which is in my opinion one of the drawbacks, because you may need the key for that purpose each and every time, and that's annoying. Tires are good. Double wall rims, it's nothing premium but functional at least. The brakes are probably my biggest remark. First of all, they work fine, reliable, consistent. At no point I felt nervous about braking, but you're gonna hear squeaking and minor vibrations caused by the metal pads, and if only Glewel have added hydraulic brakes with mineral pads, I was probably about to love this e-bike. On the rear side, we can see the 8-speed cassette, managed by a Shimano Altus shifter. It's way better than the basic Tourney model, so another part well chosen. Controls of these gears happen from the front right side of the handlebar, and switching between these gears feels very natural. If you decide to conquer more challenging terrains, perhaps this ain't be the best kind of a bike to do it with, but Glewel give you at least acceptable level of assistance with the front fork. It's a Sun Tour model, and if maintained correctly, it will serve you well. It has 63 mm travel, which is a bit less when compared to the standard 100 to 120 mm that most shocks these days provide, but I guess that's why people say that you get what you pay for. At least it is a standard component and maybe upgraded. Speaking of comfort, the saddle is alright, neither stiff nor soft, just okay. You can adjust it in terms of height, and for your convenience, there are marks so that you remember your most commonly used ones. Concerning the electronics, there's a front light which you can trigger from the control display. It's positioned on the left area of the handlebar. You're going to distinguish most data even on a sunny day, not that easily though. Using the up and down buttons, you can increase or decrease the assistance level, and there's a real-time speedometer and battery discharge information. So, before the summary, let's pile up the things that could be improved or are not ideal. There is no smartphone app as a starter, the basic brakes installed, the lack of a waterproof rating, the lack of fender accessory, and the lack of frame sizes to choose from.
Bottom line, I think this is an excellent pack of components which clicks together so well that the performance is impressive, with the exception for the brakes, I would say. The motor is really marvelous, and it feels almost as if you're driving a rear hub motor with a torque sensor, which is not to be ignored. But given the fact that these e-bikes are mostly targeted at the European region, and given the fact that right now Decathlon are selling their EST 500 models for a bit less money, and they have a mid-drive motor and they also have hydraulic brakes, I think Glewel should reconsider the pricing for the Glewer, because yes, as a bike it's wonderful, I think in terms of value the price could go slightly lower than that. So that's everything about this episode, and I hope it was useful. I hope you learned something new and you have had some fun. And if that's the case, maybe you would like to subscribe to the channel for more cool tech inspections. I'm Michael, it's been a pleasure to present to you all of that, and look forward to meeting you in our next episode. Bye!